You say Pranakan, basically local born. We feel that we're very local. We feel that we have a stake in our own country. We also feel proud because we are being identified as local. So we are able to mix around well with the Chinese and the Malay communities. So there is no barrier as far as we are concerned. Not only because of the language, but also because of the food. Their food is more towards the Malay base and also some Chinese and a little bit of Eurasian Portuguese influence. And of course, also the dressing and the entertainment, the culture, you see, for us to mix around, gather together. So the uniqueness about Pranakan is the gathering of people of various races together under one roof. There is no formal gathering other than wedding, funerals, or even some festival prayers. That's all. We do not have an umbrella uh, to shelter us and get us together. So this is the reason why we feel that we need to have an association to create a platform for such gathering. This association was formed in the year 2008. This was a year after uh, the book of Chetty Malacca, Peranakan Indian was launched. The book was written by the historian Mr. Samuel Dorisingam. Now, after the launching of the book, our leaders meaning from the former president of Singapore, Mr. Samuel Dorisingam, they were able to motivate us, the community. So within the community, we group ourselves and have a proton committee and eventually form an association. So we are the founder members of this association. Currently, the membership is about 200 members. It is growing, no doubt. We are very active in promoting. First, our priority now is to create awareness by participating uh, in the exhibition, in some uh, entertainment that is provided, by the Chinese Peranakan Association. So they invite us. We work very closely with the Chinese Peranakan Association because they have been in existence in Singapore for 100 over years. We are only about 5 years. So we need to learn from them as well. And for them to handhold us how to motivate members of the community to come forward. And we can see that the association is slowly growing and is still growing to today. Community in Singapore, I would say, roughly um, is about 500 families, and it is now slowly being diluted because of intermarriages that takes place, and of course, quite a bit have gone into convert to other religion, Christianity, Muslim. So slowly you find that it is being diluted. But we are trying to get the elders of the community to at least focus on the culture rather than the religion, so that whatever religion they can be, the culture is still the same, and to treasure the what has been taught by our elders in terms of filial piety, and also the respect of the elders, the mutual respect with one another. As president of this association, I can see there's a great task ahead. Reason being that we have quite a number of younger generations who are not aware of the of our roots from Malacca, I mentioned just now about Gada Berang, Datuk Chacha and all that. They're not fully aware. It's only the elders are taking. So we are trying to get family members to bring the whole family, including the children, to come forward and slowly uh, teach them that this is where our forefathers have come and originate, and to take pride into our roots. At least they know that they have got a place to go to, or they can pass on to their children in the future, that we have a history to talk about. We feel that over the years, the last 5 years, that we have been participating actively in dinners, in participating in exhibition, participating in community centers for people. Many of them do not seem to be aware what actually this community is all about. Uh, though they are quite fascinated with our culture. So we feel that apart from just knowing that, they have to also be aware that we have got a history, and our heritage is very rich. So we are inviting those people who have done research, who are now doing their PhD, and some of them are professors, who can come forward and dwell on the subject, and to be able to uh, associate ourselves with the Indian community, at the same time to create the awareness to the non-Indian communities that we are also part of them, as how we have started, you see. And the Peranakan community is slowly facing, even uh, the Chinese Peranakan as well is slowly facing. So it is an uphill task for us to bring in the younger generation. So we have to think of some ways how to attract them with the current trends. For example, in terms of dressing, our dressing may be a bit old-fashioned. So the younger generation would like to use, for example, just give an example. For example, our ladies, they use sarong kebaya, you know. Uh, so instead of using sarong, they can use jeans with a kebaya top. So it's more up to date fashion. And now this is taking place. We see it is not easy just to have an association. You need to have the financial resources to really get our activities going. You see, and all members of the community, they don't, they just pay a token of $10 to be a live member. That's all. But then to launch any project, you need some form of financial support. You need sponsors. You need people, at least not only within our community, but those who are interested to see us uh, grow can come to our assistance. And we also, of course, now are getting a fair bit from government supports as well.
I just hope that my children pick up on this. Not just the food bit. Of course, the food bit, all children are just crazy over the, oh, make for me your grandmother's this, your grandmother's that, or mummy or your great grandmother's stuff. But I want them to pick up a little bit of our culture.
At the moment now, I wish my two children are here to follow up the culture and so forth. I also trying to not just my children too, but the society of the Chetim Melaka in Singapore. It is a big task at the moment now. We are trying to promote it our culture as much as the food, and the way of life too. So things have changed as can see in Singapore. We are living here. I won't say it's so difficult, but we have to emphasize more on it by telling them that we are Chetim Melaka. We come from Malacca, and we live in Singapore, and we are called now as Peranakan Indian. We need to have a kind of a guideline to follow up, you know. So some guideline like how the food are prepared, so we can be able to follow up it, or the culture, going to the temple, you know. So things like that, we need to emphasize a bit more on it, you know, basically. So food, culture, the values, you know. The value today is something to appreciate is, you know, we need to showcase ourselves what we are, you know. So it's a big task, basically lah. So we are working on it lah. Basically, we are working on to experience the generation or the young generation to go further up on this move of Citi Melaka.
I don't think so. The youngsters are interested. I see them. I know they are not interested. you can judge them. They are not interested. So we are around with this thing lah. How long? Mr. Kalastri this year is 71. I'm 70. How long we're going to live and you know, promote the culture? As long as we are alive, we promote. Once we are gone, youngsters won't bother lah. Nowadays, youngsters, they have their own family. They have their own work to do. They got so many things to, so they are not interested. They are not quite interested. Then, so it's very difficult. I don't blame them, but I'm just saying I don't think so. They will promote. That's my.
That's our view
ah.
and that make us sad also.
Actually, to be honest, I think I'm quite proud to say I belong to this community. Reason being, Singapore is multiracial. So to say that my family is multiracial is something I'm very proud of. So we welcome the different races, you know, the intermarriage. That is something that's really good. Now that I've come to find out that I belong to this community, I'm getting a little bit more clear about my roots at this point in time. So what I look forward to is I want to know more about this culture because I believe they have set an identity for themselves. So I want to find out more about their culture, their tradition, their customs. And me as a sixth generation, I think it's quite important to know the past as well. I would really love to trace back to Malacca, to go back to where they used to live, to go back to those old days because I understand that, you know, they used to do business and everything over there. So this is something that's quite interesting to find out how their cultures are still very much different from the Peranakans here in Singapore. So this is something very interesting to me. It's quite important for us to really know our identity, to know exactly who we are. Reason being, when we know about ourselves and our culture, this is how we pass it down to the next generation. If we do not know where we stand, it's going to be quite difficult to pass on traditions, customs, or even values for that matter. So I feel it's really important for us to make a stand. My personal opinion is if more youngsters join the association, it would make it a bit more welcoming for the next generation. So people of the same mindset, we have the same goal or the same way of looking at things with our tradition at the moment, you know, and things like social media. This is something that many youngsters are hooked onto at the moment. So if the association can actually like reach out to us through this and make it more welcoming, I believe that a couple of years from now, it will be like a whole new thing where we are learning about the culture all over again. The youngsters learn, maybe even start practicing it. This is what I'm hoping for.
Now that I am involved in the Citi Melaka Association, I would like to see a permanent place. Now we have this kind permission of the president to have it in his place, his office and all that. So we would like to have our own, where it's a permanent thing. So for the future, our own club, our own association, like what the Chinese Baba has. So it's like an appeal to me. So I wish that we have our own multi-level, multi-purpose hall, so that we can have the gathering and the permanent gathering there.
I'm with the Citi Melaka Association, Peranakan Indians, and I joined this association very recently because I wanted to find out more about my heritage, my roots. And as I was growing up,
my parents as well as my mom's siblings, they did not acknowledge that we were Chitimalakas. So we were brought up rather as Tamils, more with Tamil culture, religious festivals and all. We were not brought up with the Malacca Chitti festivals and religious rites and all that. But something in the family always kept me thinking that we cannot be real, like pure Tamilians. My grandma used to wear this sarong kebaya and her dressing, with her hair bun and with that thing, hair clip that was very different, and she wears the kurusa. And she speaks a lot of Malay. And she used to have her cousins and relatives coming in from Malacca as well as locally. All these ladies will be in sarong kebaya, and they will all be conversing in Malay. Their Malay was superb. So this kept, me thinking that why is her Malay better than her Tamil? And later it came to my mom. My mom and her siblings also spoke very good Malay because of my grandmother. But they married into Tamil families. Like my mom married my dad, who was directly from India. So she adopted the Tamil culture more, and we spoke more Tamil at home and English, and we followed the Tamil religious festivals and rites. So we did not know that we had Malacca Chitti roots because they did not acknowledge that.
My name is Vikram. My roots take me back to the Chetty Malacca community. It is mainly through my grandmother that I learned a lot of the Peranakan culture and the way of cooking and the dishes associated with the culture itself. When I was growing up, she didn't really teach me the recipes per se, but it was more of me hanging around the kitchen and trying to find out what's for lunch or what's for dinner. And then she says, okay, don't stand around in the kitchen because the old generation, they don't like you standing around. If you want to be here, you have to do something. So, grind this or chop this up or get me that and this and all. So it was kind of like a practice come observation. So far, things have been smooth sailing. I think the way forward would be the preservation of the culture, more so than anything else. And the only way, if you ask me, to reach out to the younger community is mainly through food. Food is part of our Singaporean identity and Singaporean culture. But injecting a secondary line of food culture or food experience would actually benefit. There's a lot of food fairs, Japanese food fair, Korean food fairs, Taiwanese food fair, you name it, they have it. But we don't have a Peranakan food fair or something like that for the community to reach out. And I think that would be a good start to relating to the youth. At this point, my identity was Singaporean. So I was very proud to say that, when we mix around with people coming from India, it's like, no, we don't eat idli or thosai for breakfast. We eat, this or nasi lemak or lontong or something like that. It's like, it was very Singaporean. When someone says, hey, you're from the Chitti Malacca community, it didn't really connect because we knew the Chitti Malaccas, who we are, and we knew that my grandmother was from there. But to connect that as part of our culture in Singapore was a little bit of a challenge. But when we found out that the Chitti Malaccas actually draw parallels with the Peranakans, and we are also part of that, so it's a little bit, it makes a bit more sense to say that, oh yes, okay, this is also part of our roots.
In fact, about 2 years back, on Facebook, I posted some pictures of my grandparents, my grandma, my perima, and my mother, and one family member in their kebayas. And actually, it was so uncanny because I actually posted it and I said, Chitti Malacca is a dying culture. And I never realized that that the society existed in Singapore. So fast forward this year, I found out from another friend in church who actually connected me with another member in the Chittim Malacca community, and she said, go and attend this. There was a committee meeting, AGM going on in the Indian Heritage Centre. So of course I come here to the Indian Heritage Centre and I'm saying, whoa, with all these people here. And I thought, where in the world have you all been? I never knew that, that there is a recognized community in Singapore. Because everywhere within my family, we kind of, we know we are Chittim Malaccas, but we never kind of come together and say, oh, we are Chittim Malaccas, or there's nothing official about it. So I was tremendously delighted. People are not, number one, not wanting to acknowledge that they are Chittim Malaccas. Even my own cousin, my Periama's daughter, right? She refused. She says, no, we're not Chittim Malacca, but there's proof to show that Granny was Chittim Malacca. So in that sense, I think, I'm really excited that, the government has taken this initiative to recognize and to the lost culture, and I'm excited, and because I feel that, if we could just, find some means and ways to get in touch with all the Chittim Malaccas in Singapore, I would feel very happy, because I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to trace the Chittim Malaccas in Singapore, because I feel that even if you don't want to be recognized as a Chittim Malacca, but at least if I get your name down and I say, oh, there's this line. So, I find that I feel that then our history will not die this generation or the next generation. The agenda that we need to have is that it's not a religious agenda, because it's a cultural agenda. Then it's easier for us to come, kumpulan together, because then we have the Hindus, we have the Christians, we have the Muslims, and I think that would be the ideal, that can happen to our society. Because if all these people can come together, regardless of our religion, and say, hey, we are all Chittim Malaccas, that would be so great. I think one of the thoughts people have is that the Chittim Malaccas are a lower caste, but we're not. We're definitely not. We should be very proud of our heritage. We have so much to be, proud of, because it's that the fusion of cultures, the fusion of people, and that's what's exactly happening right now, isn't it? People are, there are all these intermarriages and all that. So we're never a low caste. We are, we should be proud of who we are, and I hope that, there will be more people who come forward and say, hey, we are Chittim Malaccas.
I think, like most communities, Asian communities, we tend to adapt ourselves to the surrounding, and the Malacca Chittis are known to be able to speak Malay, so they get along well with the Malay people. They're Indians, they follow Hindu customs, some of the Indian Hindu rituals and Indian way of life. So naturally, they will also be comfortable with Indians. They are Indians, we are Indians, and at the same time, they have links with the Chinese Peranakan. So it's often said that we have a natural affinity to communities that are diverse, that make up of different people, and we somehow can just fit in easily. So that, I think, could be the contribution that the Malacca Chetty can give to a multiracial country like Singapore.
The leadership has died off in a sense, and people have gone their different ways. Many of them are spread out. What I find is that unlike Malacca, where you have a Malacca village, in Singapore, the Chittim Malacca are spread all over Singapore. So just now we had somebody from Changi. My case was Kampong Batak. They were now, in fact, now it's more spread, because everybody is staying in a HDB flat. The one thing that I like to say is that why is the culture dying out? It's not dying out. The food is there. The clothes may be there. The clothes are dying out because the younger people don't wear the clothes. The food, we still eat the food available. What is not dying out is our mindset. Chetty Malacca people are open-minded. We have this open-minded culture that can survive anywhere and meet and mix with any race.
So, and I don't know why, but they used to have racial census in class. So a teacher, so when I was in primary school, the teacher would ask, so all the Chinese, all the Malays stand up. So about 40% of the class would stand up. They're all brown. All the Chinese stand up. So another 40%. And then I didn't stand up. So this is, then all the Indians stand up. Indians were maybe about 10%. So maybe like 3 or 4. So I stood up. Hey, sit down. So then you get, are you Indian? Are you really Indian? Well, I don't know. I think so. So so he became very self-conscious about it. I don't know how to explain it. Then, but I think that where I am now getting more involved is here in Singapore, and that was because of the starting of the association. Association started about 5, 6, 7 years ago when Samuel Doraisingam wrote the book. Hardly they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. So if you're not sure about who you were before you got married, and you married to somebody who's non-Chetty Malacca, so it gets worse, right? So the identity gets more diluted. The next generation gets worse. So you are geographically removed from the ancestral homeland. Then you got no process of affirming the identity. There's no discovery process, or affirming process. Then you go a little further away, and then you get married to somebody else who's clear about his identity. So then your identity gets subsumed under that one. So that's the problem in Singapore. I think there's nothing holding the community together. Except now we got the association, but that's also very fragile. Some people in the community, I think, don't want to be related back to Malacca. As we got involved, we realized that one big difference that the Indian Peranakan Chetty Malacca have with the Chinese Peranakan, Indian Peranakans have land. So that's our patrimony, ancestral homeland. Of course, ancestral homeland is India, but that was 500 years ago. We forgot about that. So now it's Kampung Chetty. Whereas the Chinese Peranakan don't have land. They have big houses, some of which have become museums. So that's one big difference. So the preservation of the Chetty Malacca heritage depends a lot on the preservation of the original ancestral homeland. So the association in Singapore actually is quite important because it is a physical symbol. At least we're registered, so we got something, but we have to build on it.
I really don't matter much about this community. Yeah, because whatever I practice at home, I practice because we cannot force people to actually do the things that they don't like. So whatever my family, I will just tell them that this is the Chetty Malacca's culture. And based on my father loves Chetty Malacca, and my father's side, because they are Chetty Malacca, because they feel that they need to be proud of Chetty Malacca. But when I was partially half Tamil and half Chetty Malacca, for myself, I will say that I need to be fair to both sides. So it does not really matter. The only thing that I will support is the Gajah Berang, the Singapore OBM, because I feel that there are few people like my cousins and all that. This uncle who's named Mohan Pillai, and he has been doing a very good job. Like since the time I was born till the time I know, every single year he will come to my house to just get money. Whether it's $50 or $20, he will still come down and collect. He sees the Chetty Malacca. So because of him, maybe I will have some affiliation, because I see that he's dedicated, and he tells us that people are looking forward for us, and we are actually moving backwards and can you support? And because of him, that's why I started going back to the Malacca temple and all that. When he come and collect, we will know that okay, this is what is happening in Malacca now. And recently he has just yeah. So because of that, I respect that whole process to actually keep the culture and remember my grandparents and all that. In terms of going back to Malacca and going back to the place, yes, I feel that I'm connected. Yeah, but to force people to listen to Cheti Malacca's story and all that, not really. Not really. Just tell them if they ask deeper, I will do share.
I don't feel that I'm kind of as in the current state in Singapore, as in the Indian community. I don't feel like I'm a minority, or I don't feel that I'm small or in any way, because I feel Singapore, the unique culture of the Indian community in Singapore is there's very high racial acceptance in Singapore and harmony in Singapore. So helping out in the Hindu Dharma board, especially in Sivan temple. So they know all my family members, and they know that we all don't speak in Tamil to them. You know, that kind of acceptance that they knew that we by birth we are actually Hindus. We follow the Hindu practices very well, but it's just that we have our preference of language is different.
I'm proud of I'm proud of their culture, their values they taught us, their culture in terms of their clothing. During my 21st also, I make sure that my 21st photo shoot, I wear the baju kebaya so that I represent my culture a bit. So I still do keep all those photos where I make sure that I wear so that I remember that because my grandmother till the very end and my auntie till the very end, on Deepavali they don't wear Punjabi suit. We will follow them to tailor to sew their baju kebaya, and it's always sewed. It's not go gelang by the Malay one. So they make sure they sew their baju kebaya. So Deepavali, everyone will ask. People will ask us also like, why you not wearing Hindu costume? Why are you Malay? And then I was like, no, we are not Malays. We have Malay culture. We are influenced by the Malay culture, but because we come from Malacca, my parents come from Malacca, Peranakan, but we are Hindus. Our religion are Hinduism. So but I'm proud that we have an influence and we are open to everything. We don't restrict ourselves in something. We have openness and we accept everyone as they are.
Getting involved in the association is actually itself doing something for the community. And of course, involving in the community means reviving the tradition and the cultures. So what we do is we are trying to get our youngsters, the future generation, not forgetting who our roots are, who we are.
I think they will slowly die off because nobody takes an interest in it to continue. It's sad now. If I have given the chance, I will continue. I think if you can support it and let it grow, we should go on. In a small contribution. Otherwise, it's so sad to give up like that.
There are many of us who still want to maintain our Chirti Melaka culture, like some of my mother's nieces and all that. But it's kind of dwindling. It's like they would rather relate and call themselves Indian or Tamil rather than call themselves Chirti Melakas. There are many who still maintain that, but there's still a lot that don't want to be known as one, or they say I am, but now I'm not. I'm more an Indian kind of thing. So maybe with all this introduction and all that, they may realize that there's something unique, right? It's recognizing the uniqueness of your culture that makes you unique, I think. Language kita orang Chetty Melaka. I've never felt embarrassed about that. I was very happy, and I feel that I'm proud to be a Chetty Melaka, something different from the others. Yeah.
The biggest challenge that we face is how to maintain the culture, how to encourage our younger people to come back and practice our culture. You know, gone are the days when our generation are so good in pantun. My father's generation, they are so good in pantun. They are good in dondang sayang. So these are the things that is already like a thing of the past. But we are trying to encourage it to make a comeback, so that it will be there for decades to come. Of course, with the introduction of the internet, things are getting much easier to reach out to our people with the Facebook, and we have a Facebook, a website in Facebook, www.melakachetty.com. So that is our thing. And then also, we are also seeking ways and means how to become to make money for our people, because as it is, our kampong itself is a very rich kampong. The land value is very, very high now because we are right in the middle of the city, but it doesn't generate enough income for our community. So these are the things, the challenges that we are facing. I came to know there's a Chetty Melaka Association in Singapore. There's another association also in Kuala Lumpur. I would like to incorporate all the three associations, and so that we can, spread out the culture of our Melaka Chetty. As it is now, we are KL works by itself, Singapore by itself, here Melaka Chetty by itself. So this is where the roots. This is the beginning of the Melaka Chetty. So we hope to bring back a lot of people here to come regularly, have discussion. We have change ideas. Maybe we have functions like fundraising functions. Okay, we are going to do one mock wedding ceremony. We go to Singapore and do it. So the Melaka Chetty in Singapore, oh, this is how our fathers do. And then we go to Penang, or we go to Kuala Lumpur. We exchange all the different cultures, so each and everyone can learn from each other and maintain so that our culture can be sustainable for the next decades to come.
As one grows old, a lot of one's memories surface. And inevitably, the memories of my father are extensive. Wonderful man, wonderful life. And I kept wanting to know more and more of what my own life comprised and what he was. And so I decided to write a story about my father. But the moment I started writing a story about my father, first question is Chetty Melaka. So what's Chetty Melaka? So that led me off to do historical research on Chetty Melaka, which is actually and there's a lot of information I've discovered. I think there's some research material in there, new stuff, which has not been published before. Then when it was all finished, I got 7 chapters, 8 chapters, and one whole chapter on just the history of the Chetty Melaka. So I put them out on the internet as 2 separate, in two blogs. One is the whole Onyang story, which also has the chapter on the Chetty Melaka history. There's another one with just the history of the Chetty Melaka, The sum total of what I put down and what we will have written by the time we finish is to give the current generation a profile of the Chetty Melaka as we originally were, how we developed, how we changed, how we emigrated, and how we are transforming, transmuting into other societies while still retaining our Chetty Melaka personality and character.
And then when Ponu started the Singapore Association and took the initiative to come down to meet with Melaka Chetties in both Melaka and Kuala Lumpur, and we gathered all the Melaka Chetties through his contacts and whoever he could reach out to. We called on all other Melaka Chetties and we had a gathering at Ketty Chetty's daughter's house. Ketty Chetty was one of our former trustees and his daughter is Sukumari Chetty. And we thought, there is a sizable community in Kuala Lumpur whom I've not met for a long time or I didn't even know existed. So my sister was urging me after meeting up with Ponu and all that maybe we should do something for KL and Selangor, and with a few others we put our heads together and we said maybe it's time we did, and that's what we did. But we wanted to be inclusive. We wanted to include all the Melaka Chetties who are here, irrespective of religion. That's why we named it the Melaka Chetty Cultural Association, so that we can be all inclusive. It's just learning about our culture, which we feel is so unique and so different, and our traditions, our food, and the younger generation who are no longer associated with Melaka are losing that, Maybe while their parents are alive, they may be doing Parchu, some of the festivals. But once the parents are gone, I think it'll be forgotten. And because they are not associated with Melaka, they may not even come back. And after a while, we lose all these people. So we started the association. It's a very small group of people, just about 40 or 50 of us. We meet once in a while for Melaka Chetty food. We had organized a trip to Ipoh just to get people on the bus, and we sang along in the bus and just enjoyed each other's company and got to know each other. And I must say, most of the people in the village are very supportive of what we are doing. I hope people are happier. People say that when they come for Mariman Tiruvila now, everyone is happy and it's a happy atmosphere. That makes us feel good, because that's what we want, isn't it? We want the people to feel that they belong and that they will come back. I don't want them to feel that they are, they are no longer part of the community and therefore nobody welcomes them back. That's not the way we want to do it. So that's what we are trying to do. Keep the community together and make sure those who are no longer in the state want to come back and be a part of the community.
I just continue with all the festival, the prayers, whatever we done. I just let my kids to know this is very important. It's your roots. Like once you lose it, you lost. So hopefully they will, people around here, they will teach their kids to keep this culture. It's not many. I don't like, so sayang if lose Even nowadays like everybody talk in English. Even maybe the mother Tamil, they talk in Tamil. So the language of the Chetty Melaka a bit loose. I try to talk in my kids a bit, but I'm not so fluent in Chetty Melaka language. Yeah, language is important. Don't lose. After that, you lost everything.